Welcome to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I'm Deacon Jody Moscona. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about a very important organization that helps our youth. It's the court-appointed special advocate group called CASA. So you hear us say CASA a lot today. And I'm blessed to have a couple of great guests today. Charlie Cusimano, who I know from years as the lawyer for the Diocese of Baton Rouge and now a volunteer with CASA, and Sarah Tranchina, who's with us from CASA. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, so Charlie, I'm going to start with you. What brings you from such a prestigious place as lawyer for the diocese to CASA? I'm sure it was a promotion.
It was. It absolutely was. And ease of my tensions, too.
I bet.
But yeah, I was just motivated. Actually, I was a CASA worker back in 1992. And when that was the first class of CASAs being trained back then in Baton Rouge. And was just motivated from the fact that, I had so much given to me in my life. My parents, gave me, a great home to live in, a safe place, educated me all the way through law school. And then, in 92, by that time, I had kind of grown up a little bit, and my wife and I adopted a child. It was 3 years old at the time in 1992. And I just felt like I needed to give back. And what better way to give back was to help children in need in our community.
Mm-hmm. And Sarah, you're new with CASA, fairly. So tell us about what your role is at CASA.
So I'm the recruitment coordinator, and I recruit all of the volunteers, and then I do all of our marketing and PR. And yeah, I've only been with CASA for about 6 months now.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
So those that don't know what CASA is, since you're the recruiter, why don't you roll with it and explain to people what CASA is?
Okay, so we're a nonprofit, and we cover, so CASA is throughout the U.S. It's like a national nonprofit association, and we just cover East Baton Rouge Parish. There are, I want to say, 17 CASA associations in Louisiana that all cover, different parishes. So we are a small office, and we recruit and train volunteers to act as a voice for children that are currently in the foster care system. Right. Abused and neglected children, these are the victims in the situation. Through no fault of their own have they been removed from their home, and which is really traumatic. And we have people like Mr. Cusimano that come in, and they will take one case because these children have a lawyer and a caseworker, but those state employees have a lot of cases that they're working on. So our volunteers will have one case that they can really focus on, and then write court reports for the judge to make a decision, because there's so much weight on the judges in this situation to make a decision for the child, and they want to make sure they're making the best decision for that child.
Mm-hmm. So we've had the foster parenting groups on before. In fact, they had the First Lady on talking about foster parenting, and she's awesome. She's very much in the corner of taking care of the kids that are in these uniquely negative kind of situations. And for those that don't know, what often happens is there's a child in a difficult, negative situation, and because of the circumstances, the state has to remove the children from that environment, and they immediately have to find a foster home. And so that's where the foster home interviews happen, where some of these people were just approved to be foster parents, and then they get a child, and sometimes they have nothing. I mean, they don't have a car seat. And so there are other groups who we've had on who provide stuff, in those situations. And so you could see that this is a conglomerate of a lot of different people involved, because there are different angles. So what happens is that child now is removed, and now the court has to decide what's going to happen. Is it permanent? Is it temporary? Does the child go back to the parents? Do we have to find somebody else? Do they stay with these foster parents? And so, as you mentioned, there's state people that are assigned to the case, but the CASA advocate is an advocate, like a lawyer almost, representing the child. right?
Almost a lawyer, but you don't have to be a lawyer.
You don't have to be a lawyer.
Have to have any legal training at all to be a CASA
Yeah, we were
worker.
just talking about this. I don't want people to think that you have to have any kind of law background or any kind of social background to be an advocate for the child. You'll, learn as you go. We have staff members that are over our CASA advocates that they can use as a resource for any questions they might have. So you don't need any kind of special background to do this.
You just have to have some special care for the children.
Yes.
That and just your own personal gifts. And we all have our own gifts, and each CASA will bring their own gifts to their case, and it'll definitely help the child.
And so these hearings that go on, they're at the juvenile court over by the airport, is that right?
Well, they've been on the computer lately.
Yeah.
oh, really? Because
they're still doing everything over Zoom.
Oh, that's that's easier,
A little
I guess.
more convenient.
I prefer to be there.
Do you have you been able to have personal interaction with the children through COVID?
Well, since I mentioned earlier that I started in 1992, but I did it for a while, and then I retrained in 2020. So happened that my training came in March of 2020. So
the beginning of COVID.
My training was on the computer, and all my interaction in the 2 cases that I've handled since then have been by Zoom or by Skype, and we weren't supposed to meet face to face with the children until just recently, probably within the last few months, that we were able to actually meet face to face with the children.
So Sarah, you as a recruiter and PR person, you kind of have dual role. You need to promote CASA and put it out there so people know what it is.
Yeah.
And then you need to try to find people that can fulfill these roles. How are y'all staffed right now? Are y'all like underwater, like desperately need? I mean, I'm being honest.
Yes, as far as volunteers, with COVID and then the hurricane, we got hit pretty hard. So right now, I would say we have almost 60 children that don't have a CASA advocate that we're trying to get people trained for. So it's, I think in years before, CASA has always met the goal of providing an advocate for every child that needs one. And just recently, we haven't been meeting that goal. So we are really in a not great place right now because we really need those advocates. And what's even worse is that children are always being taken into foster care. So it's not like, okay, we can just get 60 and then we'll be fine. I mean, children
this is an ongoing process.
It's ongoing, so we always need volunteers, but right now we have a lot of children that really need someone to speak up for them.
So if you're watching, there's a lot of places that we can steer this conversation. One of them is to what is our responsibility as Catholic Christians. Jesus calls us to look after those that are in need. And he lists all the different kind of needs, clothing and all that stuff. Well, this is a special kind of need. These are kids that have been separated from what they know as normal, which is, it might be negative normal, abusive parents or whatever, but it's what they know. Now they're ripped away from that and thrown into a court system that sometimes is just faceless and not fair. And so the advocates, the CASA volunteers, are the face of what could be a faceless court. And so if you're out there and you feel a tug at your heart a little bit, we're going to talk for a couple minutes about what you should do to respond.
So obviously we want you to be a volunteer, and if you are interested in that, what I tell everyone is we have a little 30-minute online orientation that you can sign up for. It's no commitment if you do that. If you're even interested, one of our staff members conducts it. You just sign up for it, and then it's kind of like a Zoom meeting where they'll talk about it. There's a little presentation. Like I said, it's only 30 minutes of your time. We have them throughout the weeks at different days and times. And then at the end of that, our staff member will answer any questions that you might have. And then from then, they'll tell you, if you are interested, then you have to fill out an application. And then obviously our training is it's pretty intensive. You can either do it online in your own time. We went to that obviously during COVID, and we still have it available for people that want to do it that way. And then we also have in-person training. We have one, actually I think it's starting this week, so that obviously wouldn't be feasible for people that are signing up now, but we will have another in-person training class in January. Some people just prefer to do things in person, so if anyone is interested in that, they can get into that January training class.
And it's really a good time waiting till January, because right now it seems like the COVID is sliding off the radar a little bit. Now we're starting to worry about flu, which is yay. We used to worry about flu. Now we're just glad to have it be the flu and not COVID. But so we have a couple of months to even get further along away from COVID, and people may be even more comfortable going in person.
And we are, with the classes that we're holding, we are taking precautions. If anyone's worried, we are wearing masks. We are being spaced out. Hopefully in January we can get more people in the class, because we've had to keep the numbers lower. So we're really hopeful for January that things are better, so that we can have a really big class and get a lot of people trained.
That's great. That's great. So, so one of the main things right now is to try to get people to at least inquire, and do that by going and getting that 30-minute questionnaire thing.
Yeah, and then another thing that I like to tell people is this isn't a volunteer opportunity for everybody, and we understand that not everyone is going to be available to do this, whether it's time constraints or what have you. So another thing that you can do is just spread the word about our mission. We have all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can follow us, share all of our posts, just talk about our mission. The more people that know about our mission, then the more people that will, because word of mouth is just really our greatest asset when it comes to recruiting volunteers.
So I know we'll probably put the number and all the pertinent information on the screen, but why don't you give it to folks? Phone number, email, Facebook.
So we like to direct everyone to the website. It's casabr.org, and you can go there, and all the information is going to be on the website. And then Capital Area CASA, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think it's CASA_BR for Instagram and Twitter.
That's great. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, let's just look at the big picture of CASA, and let's see where we are, where we go, and how we get there. How's that?
Great.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. Thank you for joining us today. We're talking about the court-appointed special advocate program for Baton Rouge called CASA, and we're talking about the possibility of you helping them. Stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Hello, my name is Dina Dow. Have you ever thought about how near to us God is? How truly present He is in each breath, in every moment. God is near us. If this is true, how can we grow in our awareness of God and coming to know, to love, and to serve Him and answer our call to holiness? The deeper we grow in our faith, the greater we grow in our hope of Jesus Christ and become witnesses of His love. We are called to be living missionary disciples of our Lord Jesus. We encounter the Lord, we accompany other people on their journey, we form a community of believers, and we are sent to share the good news in our missionary activity. As director of the Office of Evangelization and Catechesis, we are here to help you grow to become a living missionary disciple at home, at school, in the community, in your churches, and in the entire world. We offer workshops and courses, ministry and theology classes that help answer the call to evangelize and to catechize. So let us answer together the command of the Great Commission to go out and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them all that Jesus has commanded us, and know that God is with us until the end of the age.
Welcome back to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. Deacon Jody Moscona, thank you for staying with us through the break. Today we're talking to Charlie Cusimano, one of my old friends, former attorney for the diocese. And you know, old lawyers never die. We just keep on going, right?
Keep
Find
chugging
something to do. And Sarah Tranchina, who is Miss Everything for CASA, it seems like, PR person, recruitment specialist, I guess a fundraiser extraordinaire too.
Oh no, that's not my job.
I know, but you do that too, I know, at some time because of where you are in the neighborhood. So CASA is the Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program, and it's to help those foster children that are in the court system have somebody to kind of hold their hand and be their special advocate, their friend. And we were talking about as the viewers, having an opportunity to assist the CASA group by volunteering. Now, let me ask you this. When somebody volunteers, they do the 30-minute thing, and they feel committed, and then they go through the training. About what is the time frame before they actually get a case?
You might be able to speak better to this.
Yeah.
I would think it would be
training was quite intensive, and it took me probably about 2 months to get through that. And of course, that was again, on the computer. And I think I think I finished that in July, and I had my first case in the first week of August.
So once you get through the training, you're
ready to go.
Ready to go. That's good. And one of the things, some people get kind of, oh, that's a lot of training, but really, that's why you don't have to have any background, right?
Yeah,
because you provide all the training.
Exactly. And honestly, the way that someone expressed it to me, and I don't know, you might think this is untrue, but the training is the most time you're really ever going to spend because it's pretty intensive. And so once you get done with that, you're probably not going to spend as much time actually on the case. I guess it does depend on the case and the circumstances.
I'd spend 10, 15 hours a month on a case.
Well, that's not bad.
And, when we talk about the training and I said we're ready to go, they don't just toss you out there and say, here's a case. You have a supervisor that's part of the staff that you interact with and get advice from all along the way. And there's the staff at CASA that's there to back you up and help you. So they don't just say, here, take this, go.
There's a lot of help, and I don't want people to think, you're just thrown out there. Our advocate supervisors, most of them have been with us for years. They all are very knowledgeable, and then they also attend all of the court hearings and everything. So they're always going to be there to help you.
Well, that's awesome.
So I'm at the court hearing, but my supervisor is too. And we'll usually talk and chat before the hearing comes up. And, some hearings I have to do a report for and make recommendations to the court, which, by the way, the courts really listen to the CASA workers. I feel more listened to as a CASA worker than I ever was as a lawyer. Because judges usually say, go away. You're getting paid to say that. But they really listen to the CASA workers. They really do.
Yeah. So you really kind of nudged into one of the things we said we were going to talk about, which is kind of the bigger picture, and that is how it kind of functions. And it's important because you have supervisors, they show up to hearing, but they don't have the relationship with the children that you do as a CASA advocate. And so they have to depend on you for the actual not facts, but emotional part and the particulars. And I would think that that's very important to have this interface.
Right, because the CASA volunteers are the ones that meet with the children. Well, obviously you meet with the child, but also you're going to meet with the foster parents, the grandparents, doctor, therapist, anyone that's in the child's life, you know, and your advocate supervisor, you can get them to go with you in the beginning if you want. I know a lot of our volunteers do that. That's up to you, but you're meeting with everyone in this child's life to get, like you said, like the bigger picture of what exactly is going on. And then you're going to report all that back.
Yeah. You know, Charlie, when we first young lawyers, we knew about the law, but we really didn't know procedure. No. You run into court, you really don't know what you're doing. And I can imagine when you're a new advocate, it's very similar. You do your report, you meet all, and all of a sudden, ooh.
Yeah, well, they didn't teach me this. Things come up.
And that's why the supervisor come and helps, you know. So
the training goes into a lot of things that you're going to have to deal with in general, but they don't know the specifics you're going to be dealt with when you get your case.
Right. So you're in need of a lot of people right now, and so I would say that right now the funnel's big. And so the more people we can get into the funnel and get them through it, because I'm sure not everybody makes it through all the training.
Yeah, I mean, I think if someone goes through the training, they're probably pretty serious about it once you make it to that point. But I mean, some people do the training and then something comes up in their life and they just have to put it on hold. They can always come back and do it.
And that's another very important point to make, that there's the commitment is as you are available.
Right, and I mean, we do ask of a commitment for at least a year, maybe a little bit longer, because we want you to see the case through. You're a consistent in this child's life, and maybe they don't have anything else that's consistent in their life. So we want to make sure that our volunteers know this is serious. We need you to make this commitment to this child.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned at the beginning of the first segment about CASA it's not just Baton Rouge, like there's 17 of them in Louisiana. Yes. So if our viewing area is obviously greater than just Baton Rouge. So if you're watching from one of the other areas, you can be a CASA for wherever you live.
Wherever you live, there's going to be a CASA, and it might not be, our CASA association, but there is always a need for volunteers throughout. For sure, there's a need everywhere.
Yeah, and so a lot of people watch these shows online, and they might be picking it up in Hammond, and so they're in Tangipahoa and wherever, because that's part of our diocese.
Right.
And there may be a CASA near them, but I don't think you have to live in Baton Rouge to be a CASA for Baton Rouge.
That's an important point.
And a lot of the work that you do is telephone, so you don't have to, it wouldn't involve a lot of traveling.
Right.
Constantly. You don't even have to go to court right now. The court comes to you on the computer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of court stuff being done by Zoom these days. So the kids, you mentioned you have had a couple of cases. Are any of them concluded?
Both. One just concluded last week and the other one concluded last month.
So can you share a little bit about the particulars of, I know you can't, just generally.
Yeah, generally, my first case was a young man that was 16 years old at the time. He was 16, about to make 17. I had a lot of mental health problems. In fact, from the time he was age 8 until I met him when he was 17, he had been in at least 20 different behavioral hospitals. Was on all sorts of medications, had every diagnosis you can think of, ADD, ADHD, every other letter of the alphabet that you can think of. And he really struggled in the time period from August until February of last year. He was in and out of more, probably 3 or 4 different behavioral hospitals, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, New Orleans, and somehow they put him in a group home in Monroe, and he started taking his medications, and so he started straightening out, and now he's reunified with his mother.
Well, that's a great
which
ending
was,
to a good story.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I can see the smile on your
just to be
face.
able to see that, to witness it. I don't take any credit for it, but to be there, to witness it, it just chokes me up.
Credit for that one.
The other case that I just got finished with was 3 little boys whose unfortunately last Super Bowl Sunday, their father killed their mother, and they wound up with their grandparents, the mother's mother, and her husband. And they're 5, 3, and 1. Know nothing about what happened to their mother. They just know their mother's in heaven. But to see those 3 children and the love that they have, and they're being given by their grandmother and her husband, is just phenomenal to have seen. And the judge just awarded custody and closed the case last week. So they'll be living with the grandmother and still having visitation with the father's side of the family, because it's important.
Yeah.
To
I
have,
kind of have goosebumps right now because I feel the sense of completion and joy and happiness that you have for having.
I got to call my supervisor today because I'm sure he's got another case for me.
Yeah.
So we only need 59.
That's awesome. So I hope that you, as our audience, are getting a sense of that there is the more you give, the more you get. That's how God works. And in this case, the joy you get from seeing one of these cases through has just got to be, I can see it on your face, Charlie. It's just absolutely amazing.
An amazing, rewarding experience to just be a part of it and to witness it happening.
Yeah.
These are kids that had no hope. They were living a nightmare, and the little bit of things that I did helped give them a dream and give them some hope.
Man, that is awesome. And so if you're watching the show today, we'd like for you to at least go to the website, casabr.org, and peruse the website, look at it, and maybe the Lord will put a spark in your heart to pursue it, at least to fill out the 30-minute questionnaire to see if you are potentially ripe for there. And then I encourage you to pray about it, and God will lead you the right way, because that's just the way He is. He wants us to be His eyes, His hands, His feet in this world, and this is a small way that we can do that. So Sarah, best to you, and our prayers go with you in your new job. I can see that you kind of have joy in your heart about it.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
And that's awesome. And good to see you, Charlie. And thank
Same
you for
here.
coming in. And I'm glad that you're finding something to give you some satisfaction in life. It's always good to see an old friend living a good life. So, and thank you for joining us today on Catholic Life. We just hope that you follow the call, the tug at your heart, and check out CASA. It's very important. Until next time, everybody, God bless.